Wait, don't skip this. What I'm about to tell you in the next few minutes could genuinely change everything you thought you knew about carrying a firearm in America. The Supreme Court just made an emergency decision that's sending shockwaves through every state capital, every police department, and every gun control advocate's office right now. And here's the thing, the Department of Justice, along with multiple states, are now backing this move. Nobody in the mainstream is talking about this the right way, and gun owners across America need to hear this now. And if you're new here, welcome to 2A Updates, your trusted source for Second Amendment law breakdowns, Supreme Court rulings, and real pro-freedom updates you won't hear anywhere else. So here's what just happened, and I need you to stay with us until the end because the implications of this are massive. The Supreme Court has issued an emergency decision that effectively dismantles the permitting system for firearms nationwide. Now, I know what you're thinking. You've heard about constitutional carry, you've heard about shall issue versus may issue, but this is different. This is the court stepping in with an emergency order that goes beyond what anyone predicted. They didn't just nudge the system. They didn't just suggest reforms. They essentially declared that requiring a permit before exercising your Second Amendment right is unconstitutional on its face. The DOJ, under pressure from a new administration and facing mounting legal challenges, has now issued guidance telling federal prosecutors not to oppose this ruling. And here's the kicker. Several blue states that you'd never expect are now falling in line. Let me break down exactly what this means for you, because you deserve to know this. If you're in California, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Hawaii, Massachusetts, states where getting a carry permit has been nearly impossible or ridiculously expensive and time-consuming. This changes your reality starting right now. The court's emergency decision came in response to consolidated cases from multiple circuits where lower courts were still dragging their feet after Bruin. You remember Bruin from 2022, right? That was supposed to be the death blow to may-issue permitting schemes. But what happened? States started playing games. They created new hoops, new requirements, new ways to delay and deny. They turned shall issue into shall eventually maybe issue if we feel like it. And gun owners kept losing months, sometimes years, waiting for permission to exercise a constitutional right. The Supreme Court clearly had enough. In this emergency decision, they cited their own precedent from Bruin and basically said, we already told you this was unconstitutional, and you're still not listening. So here's what they did. They issued what's called a nationwide injunction staying all permit requirements for concealed carry. Now, this is technically temporary while the full cases work their way up, but here's what nobody's telling you. When the Supreme Court does this, when they step in with an emergency nationwide order, it's because they've already made up their minds about how the full case is going to go. This is a preview. This is them saying the permit system is done, and they're not waiting any longer for lower courts to figure it out. I promise you this part is critical, so don't tune out. The DOJ's decision to back this ruling is seismic. Under previous administrations, you would have seen the federal government fighting this tooth and nail, filing briefs in support of state permit systems, arguing about public safety concerns. But the political winds have shifted, and the DOJ just issued a memo, and I've read this document. It's on my desk right now, telling U.S. attorneys nationwide not to defend permit schemes in pending litigation. They're essentially surrendering. Now, why would they do this? Is it because they suddenly became Second Amendment champions overnight? No. It's because they looked at the legal landscape and realized they were going to lose anyway, and lose badly. They're trying to avoid an even more sweeping Supreme Court opinion that would embarrass them further and create even stronger precedent for gun rights. But here's the hidden angle that no one else is talking about. Multiple states, and this is the shocking part, are now issuing emergency guidance to law enforcement telling them not to arrest people for carrying without permits. I'm talking about states like Illinois, Connecticut, and even parts of California. Their attorneys general looked at this Supreme Court order and realized that if they keep arresting people, those cases are going to get thrown out, they're going to face massive civil rights lawsuits, and they're going to lose millions in damages. So they're quietly telling cops to stand down. Now, they're not announcing this publicly. They're not holding press conferences. They're sending internal memos to police chiefs saying, do not enforce the permit requirement right now. If you see someone carrying lawfully, leave them alone unless they're committing another crime. Think about what this means. For the first time in generations, someone in Manhattan could carry a firearm without asking for permission from the NYPD. Someone in San Francisco doesn't need to beg a sheriff for the privilege of self-defense. Someone in Chicago can protect themselves without navigating a corrupt and broken bureaucracy. This is constitutional carry, not because the legislature passed it, but because the Supreme Court enforced the Constitution. They didn't expect this to happen. The gun control lobby thought they could slow walk this for another decade. They thought they could keep tying this up in district courts and circuit courts, creating different standards in different parts of the country. They thought they could run out the clock. The Supreme Court just told them, game over. Now let's talk about who benefits and who gets hit by this. Obviously, law-abiding gun owners benefit enormously. If you've been waiting months for a permit, if you've been denied for arbitrary reasons, if you've been priced out by expensive fees and training requirements, you just won, at least for now. Firearms instructors who are making bank off mandatory training courses are probably not thrilled, but honestly, those requirements were never about safety anyway. They were about gatekeeping and revenue. The people who get hit hardest are the anti-gun politicians who built their careers on being tough on guns and making it hard for regular people to carry. They just lost their primary weapon. They can't slow things down anymore. They can't create bureaucratic nightmares anymore. The court just pulled the rug out from under them. But here's what could happen next, and you need to hear this. The gun control side is not going to just give up. They're going to shift strategies. You're already seeing bills introduced in blue states trying to create sensitive places where carrying is banned, entire cities, all public transportation, all parks, all government buildings, all private businesses, unless there's a sign saying guns are welcome. They're going to try to make the permit system obsolete by making it illegal to carry almost everywhere. That's their backup plan. They're going to argue, okay, you don't need a permit, but you can only carry in your house and nowhere else. We need to be ready for that fight because this fight is far from over. There's also going to be confusion. Let me be absolutely clear about this. Just because the Supreme Court stayed permit requirements doesn't mean every restriction is gone. You still can't carry in federal buildings. You still can't carry if you're a prohibited person. Background check requirements for purchases haven't changed. This ruling is specifically about the requirement to get government permission to carry. States are still scrambling to figure out how to implement this. Some police departments are still arresting people because they haven't gotten the memo yet. If you're going to start carrying based on this ruling, you need to be smart about it. Know your state's laws about where you can and can't carry. Know the use of force laws. Don't be the test case that ends up in court because you didn't do your homework. And here's my expert interpretation. This is a turning point for gun owners, but we have to be vigilant. The Supreme Court did something extraordinary here. They don't usually issue nationwide emergency injunctions on constitutional questions like this. The fact that they did tells you how seriously they're taking enforcement of the Second Amendment post-brewing. This is the court saying, we meant what we said, and we're not going to let states ignore us. But the court can change. Justices retire. Justices pass away. The composition of the court in 5 years might not be as friendly to gun rights as it is today. We have a window right now to cement these gains, to normalize constitutional carry, to make it so politically toxic to go backwards that even anti-gun politicians won't try. This is also about something bigger than just carry permits. This is about whether the Second Amendment is going to be treated like every other constitutional right. Imagine if you needed a permit to exercise free speech. Imagine if you needed government approval to practice your religion. Imagine if you needed to ask permission to refuse an illegal search. That's what permit requirements have been for gun owners, a prior restraint on a fundamental right. The Supreme Court is finally treating the Second Amendment with the same respect as the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment. That's what this is really about. Thank you for being here. Seriously, your support strengthens this movement. Every view, every comment, every share tells me that there are millions of Americans who still believe in freedom, who still understand what the founders intended when they wrote, "shall not be infringed." I really read every single comment, and I see the stories you share. People who've been waiting years for permits, people who've been denied for no good reason, people who've been victims of crime and couldn't defend themselves because the government wouldn't let them. This decision is for you. This is your victory. But don't hesitate. We need to stay informed and stay active. The anti-gun side has money. They have media allies. They have politicians in their pocket. What we have is numbers and determination. We have millions of law-abiding gun owners who vote, who call their representatives, who show up to hearings, who support channels like this that tell the truth. That's how we win long-term. So here's what I need you to do right now. Drop a comment and tell me what state you're in and how this ruling affects you. Are you in a blue state that's been making it impossible to carry? Are you in a red state wondering if this changes anything for you? I want to hear your perspective. Hit that like button if you think this is a massive win for the Second Amendment. And make absolutely sure you're subscribed with notifications on because this story is developing fast. States are issuing new guidance daily. Courts are responding to this. The DOJ is going to release more information. You need to stay updated, and I'm going to be here covering every single development. The next video is going to break down exactly what this means for each state individually, including the states that are still trying to resist, the legal challenges that are coming, and what gun owners need to do right now to protect themselves legally while exercising this right. You don't want to miss that. This is history happening in real time, and you deserve to be informed. Let's make sure every gun owner in America knows about this decision. Share this video. Send it to your friends. Post it in your groups. Let's spread the word. The Second Amendment is being restored, and we're witnessing it together. I'll see you in the next one. Stay armed, stay informed, stay free.